You're listening to Online Pet Health Podcasts with Dr. Megan Kelly. Continuing education for veterinarian rehabilitation therapists. Learn more at onlinepethealth.com.
Hey Vet Rehabbers, welcome to the Veterinary Rehabilitation Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Megan Kelly. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today is the first of a new series of podcasts. They're called Behind the Rehab Product, and they're basically about the people behind the products and companies that serve our community. So my first person that I'm going to be interviewing today is Lisa Milkis from Response System Incorporated. We're going to be chatting about their latest product, the Aurora Class 4 laser, but we'll also touch on some of their other products, such as PEMF. Hey Lisa, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me.
So I thought I would just start off by, you can just tell us a little bit about Response Systems. So when it started and who actually founded it.
Sure, absolutely. So we were founded in 1983, 36 years ago, and it's actually a second generation family business. So I am, myself and my husband, Brian, are second generation, and Doreen Hudson and, Doreen Hudson and Don Hudson started the company. And really what it came from, Don was an engineer, and he just constantly, we all know engineers, they tinker. And back in the 80s, technology was a whole different world. He was actually on a plane talking with somebody who had mentioned laser therapy as a way to heal. And back in the 80s, he was, nobody had ever really heard of that. And he was intrigued by it and just made it his mission to really dig into that and figure it out. And the company was born from there.
So in 1983, it's quite a long time. And is it only family members that work for the business now? Or I'm guessing that you've expanded. I mean, how big is the company now?
Good question. So it's myself and my husband run the operations side of things, development, marketing, PR, and then we have a phenomenal team of about 15 people in-house, kind of half of those in the factory, working on manufacturing and evolution of the product, repairs and things like that. And then we have the other half is in the office. So we also have, we're kind of an unusual company these days in that we have an army of independent reps across the country who, not just the country, across the world, who sell our products through their networks. So, I guess you could say if we included everybody, we'd probably have close to 100 independent reps across the world. And that's anywhere on the equine side, all the way to the small animal.
Wow, so you were chatting about the factory. So are the products actually manufactured in the United States?
We are 100% manufactured in the United States. Every product of ours, from our lasers to our PEMF equipment, all manufactured in Connecticut, Branford, Connecticut, which is, there are not oodles of manufacturing happening right now, especially on a business our size. It's kind of funny because a lot of the people in the community, we're in a small community, and a lot of people have absolutely no idea, our friends and family, that type of manufacturing is happening right in their backyards. But yes, we are made in the U.S. And we don't have a lot of machines right now building the equipment. We're using people. So we have a really, really talented pool of engineers and technicians. And one of the really good things about that is we're repairing equipment that's been out there for 20 years. So we are, it's a good thing and a bad thing from a business side, right? Like a lot of businesses enjoy those consumable products, so you get the customers to keep coming back. And here we've made equipment that lasts you 20 years plus, that just needs a, battery replacement or, a diode replacement, and just keeps on ticking. So we have a great team because they know the inside and outs of the product. And can fix, it amazes me sometimes, they pull out the PC boards and like, oh, it's this and this and this, and it's fixed and ready to go out the door. So it's really nice to have that history of talent that allows us to do that.
It's really good to know, because it's one of the questions people often ask when they're buying equipment is what's going to be the lifespan of whatever they're buying. You want to know that it's going to last. So obviously anyone who's in the States, if they have a problem or say they need their laser service, then obviously they can send it to you guys in Connecticut.
Yes.
What about those people abroad? So, I mean, do you sell out of the United States, or is it primarily in the States at the moment?
We primarily we're in the States, just because that's where our largest network is. But we are definitely selling a lot more worldwide now. Australia, New Zealand being a top market for us, South America, Brazil. So we have no problem shipping the equipment internationally. There's nice rates that we have with FedEx. We were able to work out. Strictly for that purpose, to ensure that we can make it affordable to get the equipment internationally. So you bring up a good question on repairs, and a lot of the repairs that we hit, if it's a probe or something of this sort, we just ship it back and forth. It winds up being quick and easy. And then battery replacements, we'll just ship a battery in with a little video. Thank you, technology. I love it now. You can just send a component and here's a video, and just how to replace it on your own, which is great. So actually it's a good question, because I don't think about even 20 years ago, 15 years ago, we've been able to do that, because you really need that technology video aspect to help us with repairs internationally.
I mean, it's comforting to know that a lot of things you can just do on your own with a video. So you don't need to find a technician who is in your area, because the chances that they know how the machine works is obviously slim. How often do you recommend for your machines that they be serviced? I mean, is this something that you offer in the States on a regular basis, to say when you buy a machine, then you can have it serviced every 3 years, or what is it that you recommend?
Right. Our PEMF equipment pretty much is, as long as you're taking care of it, it will take care of you. So it doesn't need calibration, or and we actually send a nice test magnet along with the PEMF equipment, so that you can test each coil. So obviously you can't feel the field, so that magnet allows you to know that, hey, it's blinking and it's actually emitting and doing what it's doing. So really that doesn't, I mean, it's just wear and tear. I mean, some people that have our PEMF horse blankets or mats, depending on where you're located, they fold them, make them too light within chests, and and if you're crunching things, okay, it's just like anything. You just want to take care of it. It's equipment. So as long as it's getting taken care of well, the PEMF is pretty service free for the most part. And then you have the lasers, and really depends on the model laser, actually, because we have some lasers that are fiber optic base, and others do not have any fiber optic. So the lasers are pretty maintenance free as well, with the exception if you do have a fiber optic system, you want to just get those fibers checked out every 2 years or so, and just keep them clean. So if you're, which is why with our new product, our new Class 4 that we released, we made it so the user cannot disconnect some of the probes, so that connection between the laser energy and your lens at the end stays pristine, which is really going to limit any kind of service that it needs.
Is that where the problem is, where that connection is? I know with a lot of machines that I've had, when you're pulling it in and out, then you start to loosen, the cords start to loosen, or you're bending it there. It's that little connection, so that you don't have that on the Aurora.
Correct. Yes. And that, a lot of equipment, I mean, and a lot of our other equipment has that. It's, again, it's care, it's use. So as long as, you're just, being careful with what you're doing, and following the instructions of just making sure that you keep things clean, it's good to go.
Let's just chat a little bit back, talking about the company. So do you do anything for humans, or are you primarily animal-based in our products?
So we do have a human division that we just haven't been focusing on as much. It's medical laser systems. We started that side, and really, I don't know, it's just the passion within our organization has really been on the veterinary side. And while as we started that human side of it, it was to be honest, it was distracting. It was distracting, and as you go through and you add a new audience or a new product line, you really get to get a good feel of, which one really resonates better with us as an organization. And maybe we're biased because we started in the animal world, in the veterinary world, but that audience really just speaks to us more. So we started to get diverted and too much energy split between focusing on evolution. They're very different. I mean, the product might be the same, but the paperwork and in our end, the FDA requirements, et cetera, on the human side, add a lot of take away from the personal relationship sometimes, because you have this ginormous pile of paperwork that you need to keep filling out. So yeah, we kind of pulled back on that and really put 100% into the veterinary side of things, making sure that we're providing that level of personal interaction and partnership, basically, with our customers that we're known for.
Oh, that's great. I mean, chatting about your passion, obviously, you have a passion for serving the community. I mean, what is the company's sort of core beliefs and values, and what do they hope to achieve for the vet rehab community?
Sure. And it's funny you say veterinary rehab community, because I think of us as rehab and therapy equipment, but the lasers and even the beds, they target conditions that are not just rehab. So I sometimes have to change my hat of, okay, we're not just rehab, but we love rehab. And so you bring up a very good question, is where we look at it kind of as a whole. So not just rehab, but the veterinary industry in general. So our mission is to, I love to use the word partner when we're talking about our customers, because I think of it as a give and take. We have the expertise on maybe the physics side of how our products are working, but we're not hands-on like all of our partners or customers are. So you guys are the ones who are in the field, constantly learning about how these new technologies are working together for your patients. So our goal is to basically progress the innovation within the veterinary industry, both in rehab and in veterinary medicine in general, to just follow that evolution as technology allows us to get more data and information to do things more efficiently and better, to really just give everything we can to make sure these animals are getting the best care as they possibly can.
Well, we're very happy that you're just focusing on the animals and not branching out into the human. Tell me, Lisa, what is unique about your company and your products?
Sure. So I think, especially this day and age, you get there's a lot of big companies, and I'm not sure if it's happening as much internationally in South Africa and Europe, Australia, of all the little guys kind of getting bought up by the bigger guys, especially when you look at independent veterinary practices. The mom and pop shops are getting bought out, and there's pros and cons to that. So we are basically a boutique company. Our goal is not to be absorbed by one of the larger either competitors in the market or partners in the market. We really just love working with the customers, and people make fun of me because they're like, oh, you really like going to these trade shows and you like going to the conferences. I'm like, yes, I do, because it's our way as a company to really connect with our customers and find out what you need. And the evolution of our new product came exactly from that. It was just these back and forth conversations, and a lot of times it gets lost as you get too many layers between the feet on the street and the development or the innovation department in larger organizations. So we like the size that we are. We love being able to be a family-run company, and flexibility that somebody, a tech in our repair center who sees a consistent, repair coming in during a certain period of time, has every voice to be able to come straight to myself or the factory engineer and say, hey, I'm seeing this trend, and they're comfortable doing it because we have this cohesive, small work environment where everybody has that voice. So we love that. That's kind of the passion of our organization, because it's both internal with our organization to have that partnership, and we hope that branches out to our customers as well. So I think that makes us unique from some of the larger companies that are out there that we're competing with. And then, you know, the other piece of it is that we know that everybody needs to make a paycheck. Obviously, I need to pay my employees. The vets need to get paid, et cetera. So, but one thing that's really frustrating to us is that, you know, we see practices struggle. We see, and not just from the business side, you know, part and parcel, you know, from the business side, or, you know, how do they pay their techs as much as they really deserve, and things like that. So we really try to make our equipment as affordable as we possibly can to ensure that a practice can afford it and optimize it for not only for their patients, but for the business itself. So you're not going to see us like at the conferences with the biggest, you know, 3-level booth display or any of that, because it costs money, and that money winds up trickling down into the cost of the product. And that we don't want the consumer, we don't want the customer, the partner, to have to absorb that cost. So you're not going to see us out there as much like that, because we really don't want to put those marketing costs back onto our customer in price.
That's great to know. You were chatting about, you know, connecting with people at conferences, and I think the last time we saw each other was in Knoxville at the Knoxville IABOPT conference. And you were saying that was one of the reasons for this new product. Can you tell me a little bit more about how that conversation, obviously, that you had, or conversations with people, motivated you to create the Aurora?
Sure. So it's that feedback. It's the, hey, I wish, you know, this is the system we have now, but could it do this? Or how about, have you ever thought of adding this? Or we had, you know, we hear feedback about other class 4 laser systems that they're sometimes too warm, too hot. So there's, you know, chances of burning. We had a previous version of our class 4 system, but at the time when it was first engineered, you know, Don Hudson, who engineered it, did a phenomenal job with the parameters, the wavelengths, the power. But the system itself was a beast. Like, it was, I mean, you needed, you know, 4 suitcases to get the thing around. And we have one of the other things that we really pride ourselves in are the different probes that are really custom designed to make sure that the delivery is the most effective into the tissue. But sometimes that's not one probe fits all. So, you know, we have a super pulse probe that's designed just efficient to emit the super pulse wavelength and power efficiently. And then the same thing for continuous wave from different levels. So that requires multiple probes, and then you have cords, and it's just cumbersome and bulky, and it's not easy to move around. So our customers say, we love your class 4, and we fine tune the parameters of the class 4 based on their feedback. But they say, we hate that it's this chunky thing that I can't take anywhere. So they're like, please, can you make it more portable, or is there a way that you can do some cord containment? So that feedback helped us evolve into the new product that we have.
So what actually goes into the development of our new product? I mean, is it a very long procedure?
Yes. When anybody says, hey, we're going to, you know, go from inception to, you know, to launching in a year, never going to happen. There's always something that comes up, obviously. And now especially, you know, you have the consumer based, you know, thank you, Apple and all the other companies out there who make these devices that you expect to have software updates, you know, and things get better every 6 months. Or, you know, we've gotten used to this really slick looking consumer interaction, you know, user interface for your products. So, you know, we wanted to take our class 4 and the parameters that it had, but put it into a package that is extremely user friendly. And you know, our engineering team is great at electronics and technical stuff and the inside, the guts of all of our lasers and PEMF equipment. But the screen and the user interface and making that what you want it to be, not only for today, but you have to think about, okay, what's the interface going to be like 10 years from now? Because you want the equipment to keep to be viable in a decade from now. Bringing in external partners that's what we did to help build the user interface, because that wasn't our specialty. The inside is, but the screen itself was not. So we had to look around, and we really partnered with some great companies, Big Bang here in the US being one of them, and some software coding companies. Milestone Consulting is another one in our area. We use them to help kind of pull all those pieces together, our expertise on the laser and engineering side and their expertise on the software development and the user interface, because we wanted the best product that we could present, and we knew we didn't have that full expertise in-house, so we were able to leverage that and bring in some good partners to help develop the new product.
And then once you've developed like your first prototype, do you then find some people out in the market, some vets, to test it out, and then they come back? And then, have you ever had to make some major changes? So it's like,
yes. Yes.
Just like, oh my gosh.
You're like, and oh my gosh, I didn't even see that. We didn't even think of that. Or, because you get so involved in the development process that, I'm looking over here because I have laser sitting over here, but you get so involved in that development process in-house that you need that. You're right. You need that external. So once you get it out into the market, somebody goes to use it, and, a cord that you had used, a length of a cord that you used on a previous laser, because of the way it's incorporated into this new system, wound up being about like 12 inches shorter. So when you went to go treat a dog, it was, you're like, oh my gosh, I only have this tiny piece of, but it was funny because we were so focused on the interface and all of that it was something we could fix pretty easily, just extending the length of the cord. But silly things like that you just you don't realize until you get it into your beta testers, to say, hey, I want you to beat this up. I want you to use it everywhere. Give us your feedback. Let us know what's missing or what we can fine tune. And then we go back and tweak it. Things on the interface of, I must have run through it 1,000 times, and other people in our organization, and then you put it into the hands of an equine vet, and you get a very different experience than the hands of a small animal. So, gathering their feedback as to, we should be able to push this button in and go here, and well, how do I get back if I put this in over here? And different pathways that their mind was working as they were in a treatment, that we took that feedback and incorporated it into that design.
So you said that you got the machine there. Are you able to swivel your screen so we can have a look at it, or not really?
I don't know. Hopefully, we'll see if it's. I tried to test that earlier because I knew you might ask that question, and let's see if
this will be for the people that'll be watching on Facebook. They might be able to have a look at it.
Let's see here. Okay.
Okay. Wow. So it's pretty compact. Nothing like your original one that you were talking about.
Oh, that is terrible. I feel bad too. I'm like, Don, it's not terrible. The parameters were great. It's just the package was terrible. I don't know how's that look on your screen? Can you see
it looks great. It's very compact. It's really great.
Yeah, so it's got, obviously the screen, which I talked about, all the stuff that went into that one. And then like I said, we have 3 different probes. And the point of that is that they're designed to emit each wavelength and power in the most effective way. So we have a super pulse, actually I'll back up. We have a continuous wave in this guy, which is an 808 nanometer. This one can emit either a 670, which is the red wavelength, which is great for superficial conditions and wounds and things. And then it also emits the 808 continuous. It's a great probe for kitty cats, for small dogs, when you want to get into joint spaces. It's great for if you're treating a spine and you really want to get in between the vertebrae to target the tissue beneath, because it has a nice small surface area and lens area. And this one you can actually attach an acupuncture tip to as well if you wanted to do laser acupuncture. And then we have our 5-watt continuous wave, and this one is probably the favorite probe of all of our small animal vets because it has such a large surface area of 50 square centimeters. It's one of the largest treatment areas of any class 4 on the market, if not the largest. And it's designed to disperse its 5 watts of power equally across the entire lens, so you can treat it in contact mode. Which the main difference you had asked earlier, some of the differences between our basically our philosophy and others. Our philosophy is that you always want to treat in contact mode when you can, because the minute you start to get even a little bit away from the tissue, you're losing energy in here. And it can vary from technician to vet. You may have a procedure of, if you're with one of those higher power systems, waving it this way. Another one may bounce it back and forth. So you never really know how much dose you're getting into tissue. And sometimes it makes it really hard to get it into certain areas if you can't wiggle it in there and get close. So that's what our 5 watt is designed for. Great power. And then we have our Super Pulse system. It's the highest power Super Pulse on the market. And everybody asks, a lot of people get confused between super pulsing and pulsing. They're 2 completely different things. So super pulsing is when you take the power and it pulses really high up, peak power, and then shuts off. And then the pulsing is just when you take a continuous beam and just chop it. So they're very different. So Super Pulse allows you to get high peaks. This one peaks at 200 watts of power and shuts off in between, so it never gets hot. It's great for dark dogs, for black dogs, because you don't have to worry about any warmth when you're treating them. And then it's phenomenal for getting into deeper conditions. So if you're talking equine, necks, backs, anything where your target tissue is more than 2 inches in depth, that's where Super Pulse comes into play. So that is, and then everything's pretty self-contained right in there. So, the probe containment, you can tuck your glasses in the side and then just pick it up and go. Oh, and it is battery backup too, which is nice because there's no point in picking it up and going if you have to plug it in everywhere. So that's where the battery comes into play.
Great for the equine vets too. Thanks, Lisa. I mean, it looks like a really neat little compact product.
Thanks.
Obviously, we were focusing our chat today about the Aurora, but you guys also have PEMF products too. Do you want to briefly, just quickly tell us a little bit about those products?
Sure. So we actually, Don, when he started the laser therapy, as he was doing his research on, how laser is incorporated, how it's used in healing, he bumped into a lot of data on PEMF as well. So decided to produce engineer each product line in parallel to give options when it comes to therapeutic treatment, because some things are better for some conditions, or some modalities are better for certain conditions, but then also some modalities are just better for the circumstances that a practitioner finds themselves in. So it may not be feasible all the time to be treating with laser because you just don't have the time or the circumstance isn't right. But PEMF is a more passive therapy. You really just put it on and leave it on, or leave the dog on the bed for 30 minutes, or put the legging or the blanket on the horse for 30 minutes. And I kind of consider it a passive therapy versus laser, which is an active therapy. So it really provides options for the practitioner. And, PEMF is, it has the same objective as laser, as reducing pain and inflammation and accelerating healing, but works through a completely different biochemical pathway. And I would love to get into that because I bore people all the time, but I won't do that to your listeners about what those are and how they work. But they're welcome to reach out to me later, and I'm happy to chat about all that. But it's a different biochemical pathway, but kind of an equal effect. So sometimes if you find laser, you're hitting a plateau, PEMF is great to bring in, or vice versa. I also kind of use PEMF for a lot of our customers do, for conditioning and just keeping the body in peak condition, especially when it comes to our equine athletes. And our canine athletes. The PEMF really is pre and post competition, warm up, cool down, really helps for injury prevention, as well as treatment of existing conditions.
Lisa, thank you so much. I mean, it's clear you have an absolute passion for laser and PEMF. And, whenever you describe anything, when I've seen you at conferences, you always make everything so exciting. Because your energy and your interests, and it really shines through in everything
Thank you.
And the response system does. So thank you for that. And thank you for your time. It's been really, really interesting. And I wish you all the best of luck with your new product, the Aurora. And I was actually on your website, and I saw there that you have this thing called a client portal. So I was quite excited, and I clicked on it and it said coming soon.
Coming soon. Yes. So we are, among other things to help differentiate is we really want to provide an education portal. Although you're doing such a phenomenal job at that, maybe we don't even need that anymore. But it's just really more product centric. So questions, Q&As, videos of how to use some of our specific probes in treating certain conditions, as well as providing access to some of our previous webinars and things like that. But really it's more designed about more product specific. How do I take care of my fibers? Or we really also wanted to make that portal where you can have conversations. So has anybody used the Luminex vet laser to treat this, and what was your protocol? And because every laser is different, I tell people all the time that they'll come to us and they have a competing laser. And I said, well, are you using it? And, sometimes yes, sometimes no, they're not optimizing it enough. And I said, well, number one, I wish it was mine, but it's not. So number two, use the laser, use it. Don't let it sit on a shelf. And I consider it the most versatile tool in the toolbox. So I'll go through everything that they should be using it for, but and encouraging them to make sure, to the benefit of their customers and the practice, that they're actually using this equipment that they purchased. But I can't help with how you treat with that specific laser, because everyone is slightly different. One of them that you're treating further off the skin may have a dose 4 times as high as a laser that you're treating in contact, because they have to account for that missing space. So just like those companies should have portals on their website that helps explain theirs specifically, that's what that client portal is aimed to develop on our side as well.
Well, we look forward to it being launched, and I think it's an awesome idea. Great place for people to learn about your products.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time, Lisa.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And thank you for doing everything that you're doing. I personally absorb pretty much every webinar of yours and podcasts that I can. And you getting that information out there is crucial, and you making it accessible to the community like you have been is just so overdue. So thank you.
Thank you. And we're looking forward to seeing you guys at the Vet Rehab Summit. So Response System has a virtual stand or virtual booth at the Vet Rehab Summit. For those of you that don't know about it, it is from the 15th to the 17th of November. I've got the dates right there. It is basically completely online. If you're Onlinepethealth members, you get free VIP access to this conference. Those of you that are not members, you can purchase day access. And we will also be launching on the 15th of August. And something that's exciting to know is that we will be actually having a limited access to its free access. So basically, anybody who wants to can come and attend the Vet Rehab Summit. You've got to do a few things to try and get recorded access and a little bit more, and you could actually win yourself free access to all the live webinars. So it's a really exciting competition coming on the 15th of August for those of you that are interested. Thanks, Lisa, and look forward to seeing you online at the summit.
Thank you so much, Megan. Have a great rest of your day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Vet Rehabbers, thanks for listening to my podcast. Don't forget to click the subscribe button, and it would be great if you could leave me a review. I want to know, what are you doing on the 15th to the 17th of November? It is our Vet Rehab Summit, which is our online virtual conference for veterinary rehab professionals. Find out more information at onlinepethealth.com.